Hi, it's Miss United States 2014, Elizabeth Safrit, and you're listening to Life After the Crown with Tim Tialdo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Life After the Crown podcast, where each episode I bring you useful interviews with former pageant contestants, title holders, and women of influence who are now succeeding across many different industries in the real world. My name is Tim Tialdo, lifestyle entrepreneur, pageant host, author, and quite honestly, somebody who just wants to help you become a better person overall. Now, if pageant life is over for you, or it soon could be, and you're wondering, well, what do I do now? Or what's next? This podcast is designed to help make the transition to real life and the school of hard knocks a little bit easier for you to handle. So if this is your first time listening, thanks for tuning in. We're glad you're with us today. Let's get started. My guest today was Miss United States 2014 and runner-up to Miss World that same year. She was also one of 8 delegates chosen to speak at the Oxford Union in London, England. Following her success at Miss World, she began to travel with the Miss World organization and visited dozens of countries. She represented the Beauty with a Purpose organization in these travels and participated with several charitable efforts in each country, as well as tourism efforts to highlight the unique cultures of each country. She remained involved with the Miss World organization for almost 4 years, and prior to accepting the position of National Director in late 2016, she was a member of the Miss World America Board of Directors. This year, she accepted the position of Director of Public Relations and Branding with luxury golf company ClearSports, where she works closely with the celebrity ambassadors of the company and travels to major golf events worldwide. She received her undergraduate degree from the University of South Carolina and her Master's of Public Relations and Corporate Communications from Georgetown University. She splits her time between Charlotte, North Carolina and Orlando, Florida, where she resides with her fiancé, professional golfer Charles Bull. Excited to welcome Elizabeth Safrit to the show. Thanks for coming on, Elizabeth.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's great to have you on. Now, you've obviously done quite a bit in the pageant world, and, you gave up your crown of Miss United States, so we're going back now 4 years. So what has life been like since then? And do you find it more challenging, or did the crown sort of catapult your career aspirations?
I think what a lot of people miss in their transition is that it takes a lot of time to get to where you want to be. It's not going to be, you win Miss United States and then you give it up and you're going to be the CEO of a company. You have to remain humble. You have to remain true to hard work and know that it is going to take that hard work and that time to eventually build up to the career that you want. So I spent about a year after winning Miss United States. I first traveled with Miss World quite a bit. I worked for them for a couple of years after I went to Miss World. And so that gave me the opportunity to travel, to see what I really wanted to do in the world, to see what I liked, what I didn't like. And that gave me a really, really strong platform to build a career on. So it didn't really catapult. It's been a whirlwind. I've done a lot of things, like you said, and I've tried a little bit of everything. Had my hands in a couple different hats, and now I'm in a position where I'm really enjoying my work. I'm really liking being a professional and doing something different for a change that's not in the pageant world. I've been doing that for the last almost 8 years. I was in the pageant world, so it's really a different feeling altogether, but I'm really enjoying it, learning the ropes and doing something different for a change.
Now, you were a national title holder, Miss United States. Now, of course, I have a lot of Miss USAs and Miss Americas on here, and I'm interested to know from your perspective, what's the difference between, I know the difference between America and USA. What's the difference between those two in the United States?
Well, I've tried everything. Someone once told me that pageants, competing in pageants is a lot like shopping for shoes. You have to try on a lot of different pairs until you find the right fit. And that was really true for me. I tried Miss America. I tried Miss USA. I really enjoyed both. But when I got to Miss United States, it just seemed like a really good fit for me because there was a really big focus on the interview. It was 25% on-stage question, 25% in-person judges interview. So I really liked that. And then there was still the emphasis on platform. Every candidate came with a platform. And then there were the traditional competitions of swimsuit and evening gown. So it was a little bit of everything, so to speak. And I really enjoyed that. But Miss World is totally different altogether. I mean, that I went in thinking I knew everything about pageants. I competed pretty much everywhere. And when I got to Miss World, it blew my mind. There are like 10 different competitions. We had 6 or 7 different interviews. One with media. They had little bugs put in to the media interview where you thought you might be talking to a reporter, but it was actually someone that they had hired to judge you on your interview skills.
Oh,
and then we had we had the debate at the Oxford Union. We had the panel interview, like the traditional interview. We had interviews with our roommates in the room with us. We had one-on-one interviews with the judges. We had taped interviews. I mean, it was unbelievable. But that, to me, it's so necessary in finding a title holder who needs to be fit to represent the entire world. You know, she needs to be able to hold her own in every type of interview setting. So I love that about Miss World. And aside from, obviously, the tons and tons of interview competitions, there at the time we had swimsuits, we had sports and fitness competition, Beauty with a Purpose, which was our philanthropic effort, the multimedia challenge, which is like our social media challenge, and public relations. And I mean, there were just so many different things. So I really, really liked that about Miss World, that they wanted really perfect, well-rounded women.
So if you compare that to let's say a Miss Universe, it sounds like that is a lot more difficult to win that competition than a Miss Universe.
It's very, very comprehensive. It's a month long, and there is a competition every single day. You're around your judges every day. You're sometimes eating meals with them and not knowing it. You're at galas with them, not knowing that there are judges there. So to me, it's difficult to have to. You can't be on all the time. It's not something that you can force or something that you can pretend to be. They want a Miss World who can be Miss World for the full year and not just turn it on for a day. So to me, that seems more capable of being able to find the right woman for the job. I wouldn't say anything's more difficult than the other. Clearly there are different kinds of women at each thing. I don't think that someone who wins Miss World would go and win Miss Universe, and someone who wins Miss Universe could win Miss World. They're just two totally separate competitions altogether, and both worthy in their own right. But I do think Miss World is the only truly all-comprehensive pageant where you have to excel in every single factor.
Now, you were one of the many delegates from around the world, but only 8 of them, as we mentioned at the top, were chosen to speak at Oxford. Now, going to a pageant and then speaking at, higher education Oxford doesn't seem like it usually goes in the same sentence. Was that an intimidating environment to be in? What exactly was it like?
For a lot of the girls, I think that it was. We were selected. First of all, we were nominated based on prior interviews that we had, based on interactions that we had with the higher ups at Miss World, with the house moms. They would all give certain nominations to the girls that they thought should be on the Oxford speech team. And then it was sort of narrowed down. And I was one of those selected. So I found out the day of, and we didn't know what we were speaking about. So we arrived at Oxford. It's on your mind all day long. And you arrive at Oxford. It's 20 degrees in the room because there's no heating. So we're all bundled up, already shaking from nerves and then shaking from being brutally cold. Someone comes into the room and says, all right, this is your topic. You have 30 seconds to prepare. So we had 30 seconds to actually think about what we were going to say at Oxford in front of the Oxford debate team and several Oxford students that had come, and news from around the world. It aired on NBC. So it was incredibly nerve-wracking for sure, but it's just one of those environments where you strive to be your best, where you strive to put your best foot forward. There's so many intelligent women that you just are catapulted to another level that you weren't even sure you were capable of in speaking to the whole Oxford debate team. It's really quite frightening, but at the end of the day, it's the best thing that I took away from Miss World, and it's my favorite thing that I can tell people about competing at Miss World.
So they don't tell you anything. You get there and they say, here's your topic, 30 seconds. What was the whole point of you girls going in the first place?
We were there for a tour of Oxford. It was being held in London, obviously. So to see Oxford University is on the list of things you have to do when you're in London. So we were there to tour the university and to see the city, but we were there to actually debate the Oxford debate team. So once we gave our speeches, then the Oxford debate team fired questions at us. And they were not at all questions that you would think you would have when you're thinking of onstage question. Usually they're pretty political questions, but it was things like, do you think the Miss World CEO should allow transgender participants in the pageant? And, she's sitting right there, the Miss World CEO. So you're saying like, well, I know what the rules of the pageant are, and I know what I think, but how do I appease both parties here? And it's pretty difficult, but that's the kind of thing that you have handed at you every day as an international title holder. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was set apart the women from the girls.
Well, look, I think that situation right there is very interesting. Do you feel like when you're a title holder that you do always have to try and appease, both sides of the argument?
For me, I grew up really interested in politics. I was a political science and public relations double major at South Carolina. And then as soon as I graduated, I took a position as a political consultant. And then I won Miss United States. So, I spent my whole life being very, very politically minded, always around topics of debate, of politics, and being comfortable voicing my opinion. And then winning Miss United States, I think that you don't represent just your opinion anymore. You have to represent the opinions of conservatives and liberals alike. You can't just be one side or the other. You're representing the entire nation. And that's very much the same when you're an international title holder. You have to be conscious of all cultures, all religions, all ways of thinking. So while I do think it's important to stand up for what you believe in, you also have to walk the line of being a true title holder for everyone.
Sure. The
people's queen, essentially.
Well, hey, I jumped on YouTube today. I actually watched one of your old profile videos from the Miss United States pageant, and you were talking about, as you had mentioned earlier, beauty with a purpose. Love what it's about. And, traveling to dozens of countries, kind of supporting that organization. That's not something I don't think a lot of title holders get to do. So what was that like? I mean, it sounds like it was pretty fulfilling work.
Oh, my gosh. It was incredible to see all the different cultures. I always grew up with a love of travel. So to have the opportunity to travel, I think in total, I did about 25 countries after Miss World. And so to see all the different cultures, to see the lives that we don't have in the United States, we are so blessed with so many things here. And we take it for granted every day. So to see other countries that don't have what we're so privileged to have here really, really opened my eyes and made me very thankful to come from where I do. And then also to see the wonderful cultures all around the world, to experience, like we went to a carnival showcase in Trinidad. So I was able to wear carnival costumes there. And we went to an orphanage in Seychelles, and I went to Australia, and we went to Panama. I mean, all of these amazing places where I just got to see so many different kinds of cultures was really incredible. And that's one thing that Miss World does that I really love. It's not just one woman wins. There are continental queens, and then the women who place in the top 5 often travel with Miss World. So it's not like as soon as you finish competing, your time is done. It's really a sisterhood. It's really a family, and they go out of their way to make sure that you know that what you've done for Miss World, what you've done for Beauty with a Purpose is appreciated. So I loved being able to travel with them afterwards and know that when I finish at Miss World, it's not the last time I'm going to be seeing those girls and the organization. I got to do a whole other 2 years with them. So it was really amazing.
So 25 countries, a lot of different cultures. Is there one that sticks out as your favorite?
The most beautiful place I've ever been to is Seychelles. I think they said 80% of the country or close to it is national park. So it's really untouched. Legend has it that that's where Eden, the Garden of Eden is. And so it's really green, really lush, beautiful oceans. And the people were so welcoming. I loved going to Trinidad and Tobago. It's such a fun culture there. All of the bright colors and the costumes are amazing. And then I love England and Scotland. I went there for the launch of the American Air inaugural flight from JFK to Birmingham, England, and then to Edinburgh, Scotland as well. So I just got to see so many amazing things, and I'm so thankful. But it really piqued my interest in travel. So I've kept on traveling after all of that, just to take in all the cultures that I can.
So Seychelles is where I need to go.
Absolutely. That's where Prince William and Kate went for their honeymoon.
Well, then I definitely need to go where they go.
Exactly. Well, and then just before we came, Beyonce was there. So it's a crazy place. It takes so long to get there. I think I traveled for 36 hours, and went through Abu Dhabi, went back through Dubai. I think you just saw so many different parts of the world. It was really amazing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about post-pageant life. So last year, you and your mom, Lynn, accepted the license of America's Miss World, and you two are now the organization's national directors. So what made the both of you want to take on this big responsibility to head up the organization?
Well, we spoke a lot with Miss World, and they weren't happy with the direction that it was going in. And so we talked to them a long time. We kept nominating people saying, this person would be really great to take over. This person would be really great to take over. And eventually they just said to us, at last year's Miss World, would you just take over? Because you know what we want, you know what the direction that we want to go with. You've been there, you know the organization like the back of your hand. Let's just try it out. So it took me a while to finally, accept it, and we announced it in March, and we put on a huge pageant. We started the first ever Miss Teen World America, had 2 really amazing title holders. But really what we wanted to do was give Miss World the justice that it deserves in the U.S. because it doesn't have as much publicity as other pageants here. So we wanted to give it a truly deserving pageant with amazing title holders. We had every single one of our title holders was college educated or was in college, had true aspirations, professional aspirations in life. So we had really amazing girls that we were so, so proud of. And this year, Clarissa Bowers was our Miss World America. And I don't know if you know a lot about her, but she is currently at Vanderbilt studying neuroscience. She wants to be a surgeon. She wants to help both children, and she wants to do a lot of volunteer work to help men and women who served in the military. I mean, talk about beauty and brains. That was, to me, the epitome of Miss World. So we got to go and watch her in China this past November and cheer her on. But when I was actually offered this position with ClearSports, I had to be one or the other. So unfortunately, we had to let go of the license, and now it's gone on to someone else in Los Angeles. But I really wanted to, as much as I love pageants and I've been involved with it for so long, I really, really wanted to stay true to what I originally was pursuing before pageants, what I went to school for. I wanted to have a career, professional career within a company and get that experience in life. So it's sad to see it go, and I'm sure eventually we'll do something again with a pageant of some sort, but it just wasn't the right time.
Well, and that's okay, and we'll certainly talk about ClearSports here in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask
Sure.
you have such a versatile background in pageants. I mean, you competed pretty much in all the systems, and then head up one of the organizations as a national director. I'm guessing you probably have some thoughts on the Miss America announcement earlier this year on getting rid of swimsuit. Do you care to share your opinion on that?
Yes. Well, so when I competed at Miss World, there was a swimsuit competition, and following my year at Miss World, they actually got rid of swimsuit. So Miss World did this back in 2014, but I understand a competition like Miss World not having a swimsuit competition because there's already a heavy emphasis on physical fitness in the sports competition, and it seems sort of repetitive and unnecessary, especially when dealing with 140 countries and cultures, some of which were not supportive of their delegates competing in swimsuit, and some girls couldn't do it, simply put. But to me, I believe a woman can be intelligent and beautiful. They're not mutually exclusive. I think most pageants celebrate every positive attribute of women in healthy ways. And I didn't see the swimsuit competition as judging women for their appearance in a negative way. I saw it as women proudly showcasing the product of healthy lifestyle and physical fitness. As another point, it's 2018. Women fought for years to be able to have the rights to do what we do today. And women all around the world are still having to fight those fights. So I don't think anyone has the right to tell women what they should or shouldn't wear, what they should or shouldn't do. And personally, I'm of the opinion that feminism means supporting and empowering women to have the freedom to make the choices that are right for them personally, not having someone else tell them what they should or shouldn't do.
So let me ask you this, and there's a lot of people listening. They are all over the board on this. Some are super supportive, some hate it, some are, kind of middle of the ground. But the one big issue that's happening, no matter what organization that you're competing in, is ratings on television continue to drop. And they have for Miss America, they have for Miss USA. So is all of these moves that, are either pleasing politically or pursuing feminism or empowering women, if there's no money for advertising and a national show, these are going to eventually dry up. So what do you think can be done at this point to kind of revive that?
I really think that continuing to focus on hot topics and really challenging the girls in interview, challenging the girls in on-stage questions so people can see just how intelligent they are and that they're women of great backgrounds, of great aspirations. I think women that are relatable in that sense or that are aspirational, that women look up to and say, oh, I want to be her. That to me is so much more worthy of just having a show of women talking on stage. That to me is not interesting. And I don't think that most people will find that interesting. We already have other shows like that. I mean, the news, for example. So I don't really see a place for it. To me, I think everything comes full circle. While it might not be the thing of interest right now, eventually I think it will come back around. Like you said, it's all about advertising. It's all about letting people that it's even on TV. I don't see a lot of advertisements anymore for these pageants, and they've partnered with amazing networks. So surely there's a way that they can get them back in the public eye. And I think that's the best thing to do, not doing all these gimmicks to gain the support of people who aren't even pageant fans. We need to rally back the people who were pageant fans and who are interested in pageants and get them watching again.
Well, and the one thing that I see, and when I talk to all the girls at these shows, is if there isn't going to be a national pageant on television, I think, the local enrollment to even be in a pageant is going to drop significantly, and it's going to wipe out the whole thing. Mm-hmm.
So to me, I never did a pageant to get on television. That was never, ever the ideal situation for me. I didn't care. I was really excited about having the opportunity to work with amazing charities, to use it to be able to further my career. That was always my way of thinking. So, if the women are doing it to be on TV, that might be something that needs to be rethought, because that shouldn't be priority, that it needs to be that you're doing it to serve your community, to serve your state, to serve your country, and then the rest is just perks. But, just continuing to give the women something to look forward to, great appearances, showing them that taking a year off of work or school, I mean, they don't have to do that, but taking time out of their schedule to be a title holder is beneficial to them, and not just beneficial to the pageant, but giving them something in reward for their service as
Sure.
well.
Well, hey, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. I know everybody's been talking about it for the last couple of months here. So I'm really interested to know more about this public relations job that you have with ClearSports, is the name of the company.
Yeah.
Now, PR is a huge job aspiration for many of the contestants I meet when I read their bios on stage. Public relations is a big one that I see all the time. So, tell us how the job came about for you. Because you did leave that national director position behind, and then kind of what do you do every day as somebody who directs public relations? Well,
first of all, I will say, the girls who have PR in your bio, stick to it. Don't get wrapped up in becoming a title holder, loving the glamour, loving the spotlight, and then thinking, I'd like to stick with this, and trying to pursue modeling or broadcasting or whatever. If that's your true interest, go ahead, go for it. But when you go into a pageant, know what you want, stick to it. And that is so invaluable when you're making your appearances and making these connections. You can really use that to furthering your career. So with Miss World, I think the women are so encouraged to continue on with their professional aspirations, to continue on with their education. So many girls finish Miss World and then go immediately back to school. I went back to graduate school, and the woman who won my year, Rolene Strauss, immediately after her year as Miss World, she went back to medical school. So I think that's really important. Always, always, always continue your education. That's so crucial in today's world, to have that upper edge in your resume. And try and take as many opportunities as you can. It might seem silly, but go to those professional networking events, go to conferences, join young leadership programs that will take you leaps and bounds ahead of the pack, just showing that extra initiative. But personally, for me, I was finishing up my master's program at Georgetown, and for our thesis, we're tasked with finding a smaller company that is needing a public relations revamp. And at my where I live in Lake Nona, Florida, I was speaking with someone about his new company, and he had launched the best performing golf ball in the world on the market. And he was really excited about it, but said, we don't really have a public relations plan. So I thought, well, maybe this is a good fit. So he agreed to allow me to use his company as my thesis project, and it was ClearSports. So when I was doing my thesis on the company, I presented my initial plan to him, and he hired me on the spot. So he was looking for a public relations director, someone to handle pretty much everything. It turns out not to be just public relations, but now I'm doing all of the marketing decisions. I'm doing all the digital media, all the public relations, as we traditionally know it, and then the branding as well. And so I'm doing a lot of digital analytics, going through the website, finding out where the traffic comes from, finding out how our ads do online, finding out the demographics about our customers. And that to me is really interesting, but probably what's more interesting to people is that I'm working hand in hand with our celebrity ambassadors as well. So I'm talking with people like Justin Timberlake. We had Donald Trump trying out our ball at one point, which is crazy to me. I know. And then we have Sean Connery, who's one of the original 007.
Sean Connery.
Exactly. If we have any Yankees fans, we had like Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez. Just people from all different fields and celebrity statuses, which is really, really cool to see them interested in golf and wanting to further their game with our ball. I also grew up as a golf fan, and my fiance is a professional golfer, so it's sort of my world. And it's just a really, really good fit for me. I travel a ton. I can work from anywhere in the world. So I have a really flexible schedule on that end. But my day-to-day is a lot of talking to our ambassadors, working with them on getting them into pro-ams, sending out press releases whenever we have someone playing our ball. It's just a lot of traditional public relations. And to me, that's what I wanted to do originally. So I'm really, really happy. Love my job. Couldn't ask for anything better. I was just talking to my mom earlier, and I said, if I could have this job for the rest of my life, I'll be so happy, because it's just everything I could have possibly wanted. And they're such a great company to work for.
Well, look at you taking a college project and turning it into a full-time gig. Good for you.
I know. It's really cool too. I mean, I know probably golf doesn't sound like super glamorous to a lot of people, but we partner with private jet companies. So I go and represent the companies at like the NetJets party at the Masters. I went to represent us there, and then I'm going up to the Hamptons this summer for the Wheels Up party. So it's a lot of glamour as well, which I enjoy, and that kind of takes me back to my old days of pageants, getting to represent an organization,
living the high life
at an event, Yeah. So that part's pretty cool, but I just enjoy it so much.
Well, speaking of the high life, you just mentioned it. Your fiance is a professional golfer from England. His name is Charles Bull.
Yes.
You two just got engaged back in May, I believe. So, obviously your world revolves around golf right now. So talk about how you two met.
We met at a golf tournament.
No kidding. Shocking.
Sorry to bring up golf again. Yes, I know. And it's funny because I was Miss Kannapolis at the time, which is a tiny little town in North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. And I had just done my first year with Miss North Carolina USA, and I was first runner-up. And so I was planning to go back again my second year. And so he got to watch me go from Miss Kannapolis to, which was just like, it wasn't even a title I won. It was like one of those titles that you buy, from the office, and they just send you a sash. Like no hard work goes into that at all, Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like a big deal, but I went to the tournament. And I've always been really big into making the appearances and representing the city. So I was at the tournament that he was playing at as Miss Kannapolis. They asked me to make an appearance, so I went. I was the only girl there, so I'm sure I stood out. And it was just a collegiate tournament. We had like 19 different colleges there, and my mom was with me and saw him from across the way and was like, oh, he's really cute. And I was like, no, Mom, he looks European. No. So it turns out he was European, but he had a beautiful accent, being from England. And as soon as he came over and talked to us, we both fell head over heels. And but he was up in school at Akron, Ohio. And so me being in school at University of South Carolina, it was pretty like far-fetched for us to even start dating. We're 9 hours apart. But he called me one day and said, I'd like to take you out. And I said, okay, that's fine, but we'll have to plan it because you're however far away. And he said, no, I'm I drove to South Carolina. I'm here to take you to lunch. So
Holy
he drove all the way. He drove 9 hours to take me to lunch. Yeah. And then drove 9 hours back. So he drove 18 hours in one day just to take me out.
He must have really
liked you. And the rest
is
history. Yeah. Well, it was pretty cool to get him to see me go from Miss Kannapolis to Miss North Carolina to Miss United States, and then go to Miss World, which was held in his hometown in London. And his whole family came out to see me. I had more English people at Miss World than Miss England. So that was pretty cool to get to have them all there.
Now, I actually played competitive golf in high school, so I love golf. So where is Charles?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, where's Charles at in his career right now? I know golfers have very different seasons of their career. Where is he at in his career right now from your standpoint?
He's having a really good year this year. Actually, I was just checking on his scores. He's in a match play event in Mexico right now, and he won his match today. So that's all good. But he's done for a couple of weeks. We're going to go back over to England, and he's going to just take some time off for all of July. And he played a little bit on the European tour last year. I think he's going to go back to Europe this year. So we should be traveling a little bit more next year as well.
And then when do you get married?
October of 2019.
Oh, very nice. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited. It's nice because it's sort of full circle. MacDougall, who designed my Miss World gown, is going to be designing my wedding gown as well. So it's nice. It's almost like getting ready for a pageant again, because you have to get the dresses, and you have to get in shape, and all that stuff. So it's kind of fun to get back with everybody.
Well, yeah. Hey, quickly, let's talk about MacDougall. I know I recently saw on Instagram you were at, I think, MacDougall's daughter's wedding. It seems like you and Mac are pretty tight. We are so close.
Every major milestone in my life since Miss World, he's known about. I'll call him and talk to him every now and then, and I'll go visit him in Chicago. And anytime we're together, it's just constant laughs and so much fun. But it was like an instant spark with the two of us. We became instant friends. And he's just the most incredible, genuine, humble person I've ever met. And I mean, he has no right to be humble. Like, he's done so much stuff. He's amazing. And you'd never guess it from just talking to him. He just cares so much about the people that he's with and about the girls that he designs for. So, I do have to say, any girl who's ever considering a custom dress, without a doubt, go to MacDougall, because he will take care of you like family. And I mean, he was on the phone with the people in China who were supposed to be getting my fabric to him just to make sure that it was going to come in time. And he had them send like 3 extra rolls of fabric just to make sure he had enough for my gown. Like, he does it all personally, which I think is really, really amazing. And you don't see that very often in a company that's that big. But I'm so fortunate to know him and so fortunate to have him as a friend.
Well, and I've seen a lot of your stuff everywhere you go. I mean, you are high fashion. I mean, you've got it going on in terms of your wardrobe, and it seems like that,
Thank you.
It's like you got MacDougall like at your side wherever you go, because you look like the queen when you're out at, all these events in other countries.
Thank you. It was really fun when I was Miss United States. I would show up at a hotel for whatever appearance, and I wouldn't even carry a suitcase with me. I'd just have a little carry-on with makeup and some heels, and I would get to the hotel, and there was a box of MacDougall clothes waiting for me in my hotel room before I was even there. So that was, I do miss that. I now have to carry my own clothes, which not as much fun to, arrive and have a whole box of clothes waiting for you. But that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I think that's kind of every girl's dream right there, is just to have that box waiting when you check into the hotel.
I know. It takes all the thought process out of it. It's really great. And his daughter, Ina, is an incredible designer as well. She has a line now with MacDougall, and she's really, really high fashion. So all of her clothes are ahead of the trends like by a year. So I've really had a lot of fun wearing her designs as well.
So we've talked about your job that you have now with ClearSports doing public relations. Obviously, you kind of met your husband through, or your soon-to-be husband through that. But I was looking back at a profile video for Miss United States. Now, albeit this was 4 years ago. But it's in there. You said one of your aspirations was to become a political analyst for a major news network. Is that still something you'd like to do?
I don't really know. When I was competing for Miss World, I was a political consultant. Like I told you, I was also a lobbyist. So I was very, very involved in politics, and I really enjoy politics. I still am a big fan of organizations like Rock the Vote that encourage young people to get out and vote. And I do a lot of speaking still to high school students who are just about to become voting age to encourage them to vote. But I spent a lot of time around DC in Georgetown, obviously, in graduate school. And as Miss United States, I spent a lot of time around broadcasters and news anchors. And one of my really good friends is Lou Holtz, who obviously is a major sports broadcaster. And I spent a lot of time talking with him about it. And I even went in to speak with ESPN. They brought me in for an interview. And it was one of those things that I just decided, you know what, I don't think this is the right fit for me. And that I do think it's so important, if you have something you think you want to do, to actually go through the steps and learn a lot about it, do as much research as you can to make an educated decision before you get tied down your whole life doing something that isn't right for you. So that's one thing I do encourage women in pageant. First of all, have some goals, like set some goals before you enter a pageant. Know what you think you might want to do. Do some research, obviously, to see if it's a good fit for you, for your personality, if it's something you could see yourself doing for the rest of your life, and then commit to those goals. So once you're a title holder, use that year to network and find the connections. For example, if you think you might want to get into medicine, try and speak at some healthcare events, be around healthcare professionals. Likewise, I was interested in the political career, so I was doing a lot of work with political nonprofits and working with legislatures. It's just really, really important that you use your time as a title holder to benefit your future career, to use it as a platform to catapult your future career and make those really, really valuable connections. But for me, I did spend a lot of time. Like I said, I've always had an interest in both politics and public relations. So I spent a lot of time in both factors during my year to see what might be the best fit for me. And it just turns out public relations, I actually really like being behind the scenes, as strange as it might sound as from a former pageant girl. Likewise, as a national director, I just loved getting to make sure that the best possible image is at the forefront of an organization, especially when it's so wonderful, like the Miss World organization and like my current job, making sure that the public is getting the best possible image from that wonderful organization. That's what's really, really interesting to me.
Well, good for you for, I know that decision of kind of giving up broadcasting. It kind of feels like you're giving up, what could be so much. And, after you do walk away, sometimes it does feel like, wow, I did make the right decision. So good for you for doing that. So while you're in the tip-giving mode, every woman that, comes on this podcast, she seems to have her own strategies that she uses to succeed professionally. Now, you obviously are doing well for yourself. You've done a lot of different types of jobs. So I guess could you share maybe one or two strategies that you kind of use on a daily basis to kind of stay ahead in the corporate world?
To me, furthering your education, that's the absolute number one that I could tell any girl. If you're considering going back to school, if you have the opportunity to go back to school, take that opportunity and learn from people that have all of the wisdom and in the industry that you're interested in. Networking, making those connections, that's incredibly important. To me, being kind to everybody that you meet, making those valuable connections with absolutely everybody, talking with people, really having those in-depth conversations with anybody. You'd be so surprised to learn how many connections could come from people that you had absolutely no idea that they could offer those kind of connections, or they could offer you that kind of wisdom. I've had so many opportunities come my way just because of conversations that I've had. And I would just encourage people to just go the extra distance, make the hard work, get up early, go to sleep late, do as much work as you can. But at the same time, you're young, go travel, go see the world, find out who you are, take that extra time to really delve into learning about yourself. And then that's where you can really build a strong platform to build the rest of your life on.
Very good. Well, you mentioned earlier that, one of your big things you're passionate about was the philanthropy aspect of pageants. And I know that you're really passionate about helping children. So since pageants have been over, how have you been able to continue the philanthropic side of your professional career?
Oh, I work with a wonderful organization called Dr. Phillips Charities in Orlando, Florida, and they work with, just everyone, you name it. They have like 250 charities that they're involved with. So I've gotten to see a lot of different charities in my area, which is really, really cool. And I've done a lot of work with Best Buddies. I actually created a partnership with America's Miss World and Best Buddies this year, and we raised $30,000, which was actually matched by Dr. Phillips Charities. Again, a partnership that came of just connections that I had from people I became friends with, from conversations that I had. So again, you have no idea how valuable those connections are. But I've got my hands on a lot of different charities, and I try to do as much as I can, whenever I can, and help out in any way possible.
Well, yeah, we'd certainly like to stay in touch with you on that, because any way we can help out, we'd certainly love to.
Thank you. That's very kind.
One last question for you. I know there's a lot of people listening. It's on their radar. They want to know, is Elizabeth done competing? I told you this, I think 2 years ago, never say never, but I would be it would be a hard decision, I think, to go back and compete. What would it take to get you to compete again? Money?
No. I love when you can see a woman in pageants who, I think I saw Logan Lester, Miss Texas USA from this year. She continued working the entire time she was the title holder. And I love that. I don't think that being a title holder should be something that you have to compromise a career for. So of course I would have to be able to keep my career and continue on with that and not let it sacrifice what I've worked for. And yeah, I'd really like to see, for instance, Miss USA this year had a really strong emphasis on philanthropic values, which I really liked. And I think that's sort of been new in the last couple of years. And I really like the emphasis that they've put on that. But I don't think I would consider competing for anybody else than coming back and competing for North Carolina, USA. I have to do my home state. But that's pretty much all I would consider, I think.
Well, hey. You know where we're at. If you want to compete, give me a call.
Oh, my gosh. So funny.
Well, hey, I really appreciate the time today. What an awesome conversation. And you've done so much, and you're so young. I mean, you're 26 years old and absolutely killing it out there. And I know there's so much more ahead for you. So really appreciate you sharing this with everybody, and best of luck to you moving forward. And also congratulations on your engagement. Thank you very much. Such a pleasure to speak with you, and hopefully we'll see you around North Carolina pretty soon. I think we will. All right. That is today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And do me a favor, subscribe to the podcast. You can do so on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, the podcast app, Google Play, or you can just go to lifeafterthecrown.com. And by the way, if you're still involved in the pageant world and you're wondering, well, what is Life After the Crown going to look like for me, and how do I prepare for it? Well, I highly encourage you to download my free Life After the Crown starter guide. It's a quick read. It's going to give you a great blueprint on how to start planning now and not when it's all over. So to get it, just go to timtialdo.com/starter guide, and you can get it there for free. And for weekly podcast updates, don't forget to follow me on Instagram @TimTialdo. Until next time, remember the words of Matthew 20:26. Whoever wants to be great must become a servant. Whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. This is what the Son of Man has done. He came to serve, not be served, and then to give away his life in exchange for the many who are held hostage. Have a great week, everybody.